Hello, everybody. How are you doing today? My name is Tony Rizzano, and this is another episode of the world famous, the University Love, the best podcast at 1, 2, 3 galaxies. But, ladies and gentlemen, you know, we just call this show Online Marketing Moves, and we're coming to you live today. Ladies and gents, how are you? Ladies and gentlemen, we are coming to you live today from the great state of Alabama. Have you ever been to Alabama? Has any of you ever been to Alabama? It ain't too bad. I'll tell you what. Alabama's on Central Standard Time. It's very weird when you live, like, I live in Georgia. Georgia's on Eastern Time. And as soon as you cross into Alabama, it's Central Time. So sometimes it's very strange because you drive, you go to Alabama for something, then you come right back and it's like, what? It's weird when the time changes that quick and you come back and it's like, But anyway, today we're going to talk about a couple different things. The first thing we're going to talk about very briefly is fear. And the reason I bring this up is because I had a conversation with my cousin today, and he was talking to me about content creation. He said he wants to become a content creator, which I think everybody in their brother is a content creator, except for my parents at this point. But he was like, I don't know if I want to put myself out there. And I said, brother, you gotta have no fear. I said, man, who cares, man? I said, you ain't gonna walk around naked, are you? So, you just giving your opinion. You just spouting off your opinion like the rest of them, like everybody else in the world. It's okay. I told him the main thing is, do it every day, gain some traction, and keep going. Or he was talking about once a month, once a week, but I think in the beginning, just to get practice out of the way, you want to do it on a daily basis. Even if it's a 3-minute video, 4-minute video, 5-minute video. But I got to thinking about fear. It's like, is fear? Do we learn fear from adults? Do we learn fear from our parents? Like, where do you get fearful from? When do you become fearful about things? I remember. I give you 2 examples. I remember when I first started driving. When I first started truck driving, I was 26. No. I was 24, 25, something like that. But I remember I would climb they was showing us how to get into the trailer, in and out the trailer. And I remember in the beginning days, I would just leap out. Boom, no problem, And I noticed as I've gotten older, now I'm 43, and now that I own the truck and I'm running a business and I'm very self-employed. I'm like, I sit down and then ease out of the trailer. It's no jumping, there's no leaping. I'm like, nah, I don't want to hurt myself. I don't want to hurt my knees, my ankles. I need this, I won't get workman's comp and all that. I'd rather just make the full blown monies. And it's like, when did the fear of me falling or me tripping or me, hurting myself, when did that kick in? Because the first, I'll say, 10 years, I'll just jump out. But I believe ever since I got married, I think that's when the fear kicked in. I'm not too sure, but it was around that time. And it got me to think about my daughter and how, babies have no fear. My daughter, she started, she didn't try to walk for the first, or crawl too much for the first, when she was able. We saw her crawl once, and then after that she was like, no, I'm alright, I'm not doing that. And then, she wouldn't do it, and then one day she started doing it, and she started walking, and she would fall down all the time, and boom, 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 and she would get back up, and she would crawl on things, like she would crawl on the fireplace. she fell off the fireplace once, you know, and and she got back up. 2 minutes later, she's back on the fireplace. You know, she fell, busted a lip a couple times, and she'll go back to the same spot, try to do the same thing again. It's like she has no fear, you know. And my wife does this thing where my wife is scared of the baby more than the baby will scare herself, you know. And my wife will be like, you know, and it's kind of funny, but it's like, do we give kids fear? Do we give people fear? You know, do we project our fears onto them? And I'll give you another example. My parents. I remember one time I was, you know, talking to my mom, and I was like, you know, I'm thinking about buying a truck, and you know, my mom, my mom, she's a bit on the negative side, and so she was like, I don't know if that's a good idea, and then she started telling me why. And my mom never driven a truck, doesn't know anything about the trucking business, but yet still she's trying to give me advice on maybe why I should not buy a truck, you know. And I'm like, yeah, I'm not gonna listen to you at all, sister. That's ridiculous. But you know, where is fear learned? And I bring this up because if you have doubts about, you know, if you have doubts about, you know, starting a business or, you know, writing content, creating content, if you have any fear about starting your own business, you know, going out, branching out on your own, then, you know, I know it's like anything else. Listen, have you ever been somewhere when it's like really windy and you just walking and the wind slapping you in the face and you're like, when is this gonna end? You know, but eventually you break through all that and you walk and you're like, no more wind. You know, and I can breeze on through. You know, that's business. You know, that's anything you do. There's always gonna be rough patches. There's always gonna be points of you're like, should I keep going? Should I not do this? Should I do this? You know, I'll I'll give you another example with the truck. Last month, I hit a rough patch. You know, very frustrating for a couple weeks. The loads wasn't going as well. You know, I had this. You know, I had a tire. I was just driving the truck, and you know, I had a tire that was like $500, and I had something else happen, and that was like $300, and wasn't grossing, wasn't bringing in the money for a couple weeks, and I was like, I thought to myself, I said, man, this sucks, you know what I mean? But I'm like, all right, things are gonna get better, and they have. You know, I've been running these loads and, you know, making the monies, and everything is all right. You know, and in right around the corner in truck driving world, I know you know this already, but in the truck driving world, January is like the worst time. You know, January is like the worst time for loads. And so I'm like, you know, what am I gonna do? And I'm like, you know what we're gonna do? We're gonna have to just stay out maybe a little longer, but it's a thing not to be fearful about, because it gives me more time to do more writing, gives me more time to create more content. You know, with the copywriting business, you know, so it's like, okay, that's a hindrance, but, you know, and then I got to thinking, I'm like, you know, because when my daughter was born, the writing slowed down, not because I wanted it to, but it's like, it's hard to write when you have a baby. It's hard to write when you have a baby, when you have a baby sitting right next to you. You know, it's a little difficult. And so I've been a little out of sorts, and I'm like, all right, I want to really hunker down and do the writing, because I I enjoyed it when I was doing it when my wife was pregnant and before she got pregnant, and I wrote probably 50, 60 articles. I think I wrote quite a bit. I wrote a lot of poetry. I wrote a lot of articles, and now I'm getting back into it. But it's still I'm still a little hesitant. It's like, what if I'm not? What if I'm not? I have these doubts, and I'm like, I know I'm not getting fearful. Then today, I was talking to my cousin, and I was thinking about my daughter, and I was like, you know what? It's just you just gotta shut up sometimes, say hey, and dive in head first. You know what I mean? And to get rid of the fear. And I'll give you the last example, then we'll move on to something else. When I was in the Navy, when I was in boot camp, we had to do swimming. And I remember I had a conversation with my uncle. God bless him. Rest in peace, Uncle Fred. Uncle Fred was in the Navy for 25 years. He was a senior chief. Okay? So Uncle Fred, I was talking to my Uncle Fred one day. I said, I would join the Navy, but I can't swim. And my uncle pulled me to the side. He said, "Hey man, we from the same place. You think I know how to swim?" And I was like, "You don't know how to swim?" He said, "Hell no, I don't know how to swim." He said, "They'll show you how to swim." And I was like, "Oh, okay." And so instead of me, signing up for the Air Force, I was like, "I'm gonna go to the Navy, man." So I went to the Navy. And you go to boot camp. You go to boot camp, and then they have this. We spent the day at the pool, and so they say, if you don't know how to swim, go off to the side. So, and they say if you say you know how to swim and you don't know how to swim and you get on the thing, we're gonna do something to you. So I was like, hey, man, I can't swim, and so we all had to go to the side. People did the thing, they swam or whatever, and so they was like, hey, the rest of you, it's like you don't have to swim, but you gotta dive in. And so it was like a 10-foot, 12-foot like diving thing, and they was like, you gotta just jump in, and they'll get you. As soon as you hit the water, they'll grab you, so that way we can fail you, and you can come back the next couple of days and take the remedial swim class. And it's like, all right. And so, you're looking up. I've been in the pool like twice my whole life up until that point. The first time I ever got into a swimming pool, ladies and gents, I almost drowned. Okay, I slipped. I got upside down, and I remember I saw my life flash before my eyes. I was 13 years old. I saw my life flash before my eyes, and I said, damn. First time I get in the pool, I'm gonna drown. And this guy pulled me up, and he said, "Hey man, we're in the shallow end. You can just stand up." I said, "Woo!" But I thought about that when I was about to get on the diving board, and I was like, "Ah, man, whatever." And I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna dive off, man. Ain't no big deal. And I saw somebody else do it. And they're like, all right, you. And I was like, hey, they gonna grab me, right? And he was like, of course. And he was like, you ready? I was like, yeah, why not? And I jumped. I hit the water. They grabbed me. I didn't even think about it. I just went and did it. And I was like, you know what? That's it. I don't have any fear, of diving off a pool thing. And it was all right. And I went to the remedial swim class. I went to the remedial swim class and passed. Okay. Now, am I Greg Louganis? Of course not. Was I nervous? Of course. But was I fearful? No. And ladies and gents, let's be honest with each other. There's always something. There's always going to be bumps in the road. There's always going to be, patches. There's always going to be rough times, But to be fearful of something is, if you think about it, if you sit there and think about it, to be fearful of anything is quite ridiculous. You know what I mean? And I have to say, I see my child, I see other kids. You know, I remember myself being a kid, and I remember myself. I wasn't scared of absolutely nothing. I jumped off the roof before. I've crashed my bike many times. I've tried to take my bike, put my bike in places that, jumping off things, doing all kinds of nonsense, scrapping with people. If you think about everything that you've done up until your adult life, and you think to myself, man, what the heck, really, why do we get so fearful as we get older? You know what I mean? And you have to take yourself out of your body for a moment and think about the child you were. Now some of you might not be fearful, but I know I feel it as I get older. You kind of like, and it's not an excuse. It's not an excuse. It's not, like, oh man, I'm scared. It's like, no, it seems to be like I know my parents projected some of the fear on me when I was younger, but when you're younger, you brush it off. Then you get older. Like now, I have a wife and a baby, and so some things I'm like, oh, I'm kind of like, like I wanted a motorcycle, not. And I told my wife this a long time ago, and she was like, I was like, I think it would be cool because I've driven everything under the sun, I can drive a truck, I've driven a boat, this, that, and the other. I'm thinking it'd be kind of cool if I learned how to ride a motorcycle, that'd be fun. And now my wife, she keeps like sending me things about motorcyclists and people dying and this, that, and the other. I'm thinking, oh my God, come on, man, and that kind of stuff is like, I'm not fearful about that, little hesitant, not because of me and my abilities, but because the people of Atlanta, Georgia, they drive like trash, they can't really drive, and so you have to be kind of watchful. But, so if there's anything that you want to do, anything that you like, hey, let me really do this, then I say go for it. Don't be nervous. Don't be fearful. Well, no, it's all right to be nervous, but don't be fearful. Don't be. Don't think about. Don't put too much thought into that kind of stuff. Like, what if so and so sees this? Don't worry about all that. Just go for it. You know what I mean? And so, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take a break. This segment's. We're going to come back with another segment in today's episode. So, you don't have to worry about commercial. Just hit the next segment and move on. All right? All right. Ladies and gentlemen, we are back. I know that was quick, right? Hey, sometimes you have to take. I'm gonna tell you something. I'm gonna help you out here, okay? Let me give you a tip. Now, a lot of times I record an episode. I just record from point A to point B, and I don't stop. And I go into different subjects sometimes. But if you're smart and be smarter than me, you be smarter and be more structured, okay? I'm gonna tell you something. I'm gonna get better at this. The more structured you are when it comes to the content making, the better off you will be. And what I mean by that is, let's say we talked about fear in part 1 of this program, and then let's say you want to come back and talk about email in part 2, you would stick to the subject, stick to the email. Sometimes I go, this is me. Sometimes I'll talk about email, and before you know it, we're talking about something totally different, And this is where having a producer will help you, because you stay on course a lot better with somebody around. Me, I record these free form. It's not. There's no producer. I am the producer, and so we get off course, we get off off script, and it is what it is. But I'm just trying to help you out. If you want to because you'll get down the road a lot faster and a lot easier with a more structured, with a more tight, format. This format ain't tight at all, And so that's a little tip from me to you, okay? And I'm also gonna tell you this: if you really want to start, content creation, content creating, content marketing, if you really want to start making content for yourself, and you don't have any ideas, ladies and gents, I got a very simple solution for you, okay? You go study the YouTube, you go study the Instagram, Don't spend all your life on there, of course. But you go on there, you study a little bit, you look, and you'll notice something that I noticed a while ago. Most of these people, the wheel ain't new. The wheel has been invented, and they still use the same kind of wheel for tires, okay? You might have a different rim, but the wheel is the same. And so when it comes to this, a lot of this content creation, a lot of these content creators, they just use the same old content. They just recycle it. They might switch it up a little bit, put a different, instead of whipped cream, they might put caramel sauce on there. Instead of caramel sauce, you might put chocolate sauce on there. But the point I'm trying to make is, do not be nervous about making content. There's plenty of content. You can always see a video. I'm not saying go copy and paste, but you see the video, you go, oh, that's a good idea. Let me do that. And so, because I saw today, because my wife, she sends me a lot of Instagram things, and don't tell my wife this, but I'm not interested in 75% of that stuff. But she knows that already. She knows that. She just sends it to me because, who else is she going to send it to? You know what I mean? So, I'm a victim. But I saw one today. It was about the difference in Target and Walmart, So I saw one guy's video, and then it was like, my wife said, go look at blah, 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 whatever. So I go look, and I see another video. Same video. It was a woman this time. Difference in Target and Walmart. And she did the exact same thing that the guy did. And I said, man, I don't care what these people do. These people love to recycle some content. Oh, boy, they are quick to recycle. And so you see it on YouTube a lot. You see people, they're like, top 5 business strategies. Number 1, get your LLC. Number 1, get your LLC. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm sorry, I'm laughing, but I don't know about you, but whenever I see somebody and they like, yeah, you want to start a business to get an LLC, and it's like, my man, that is common sense. Some of this stuff is pretty much common sense, but people like to be led. People like to help. People like their hand to be held. People are babies, so you have to tell them before you start a business, before you make $600, create you an LLC. Because if you ever drive Lyft or Uber, anything like that, you don't have to report the income unless you make over $600. So keep that in mind. But anyway, the point I'm trying to make is content creation is not that hard. If you ever run out of ideas, you can always go to the internet, get people's ideas. I saw today where people was upset because I guess a young Caucasian fella is doing like skits about white people and black people, and people were upset, but he's only seen people do them videos all the time, and so he's like, hey, let me get a following. And you know, if you do certain type of videos, you'll get a following. You know, if you do videos about money, people will follow you. If you tell people you're rich and you post a picture of a car, people, they'll believe you, they'll follow you, because people are sheep. But that's a whole nother story for a whole nother day. The point I'm trying to make is create your content. Don't worry about it. If you have to use somebody else's ideas, go for it. Because like I said, hey, the wheel is still the same. You know, you just put a different rim on that thing. And so, ladies and gentlemen, that's it. Go forth. Go yonder. Go create. Have no fear. Okay? But we'll be back tomorrow with the all-new episode of Online Marketing Moves. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, the best Christmas gift you can give your friends and family is a download of this great podcast, okay? So, we'll be back tomorrow with the all-new episode of Online Marketing Moves. But until then, my name is Tony D. Rizano. Thank you for listening. And as always, everybody, peace.